What do you think is the top reason why you should retire now? The first thing that comes to mind is probably money, and of course money is very important. You can't retire if you haven't got enough money. But I think there's something far more important than money. It's the top reason why you should retire, and that thing is time. And in this video I'm going to explain why. If you've got the means to retire, and you might have the motivation, this video is for you. It's not for you if you can't afford to retire, and I'll say that at the outset. That way you're not going to waste any time watching the video. But if you have got enough money, and you would like to retire, but you're yet to make the leap, then yes, this video is for you. And the reason it's for you is that at this point, every minute that you spend working and not retiring is diminishing the number of hours that you've got left to enjoy your retirement. Every minute you stay at work, potentially gathering more resources, money, to put towards your retirement, is not going to make the blindest bit of difference. You've got enough. You don't need any more. Now all you're actually doing is you're wasting that most precious commodity, time. This is time when you should be doing the things in retirement that retirement is for. Like spending time with your family, enjoying your hobbies, indulging in that project that you've always wanted to indulge in, but certainly not staying at the coalface of your full-time job. I sold my business when I was 44. At the time, it was a career break. I had every intention to return to full-time work, probably start another business of some kind. But I never did. I retired. And here's why. Because in the time that I had to think about it, when I was planning on returning to work, I realised that I had enough. I didn't need any more money. Why did I want to spend another 10 or 20 years accumulating more resources for a retirement that was going to happen in a future date when I could do it now? And I'm really glad that I did, because if I hadn't, I'd have missed out on so many things. In the 10-year period from age 44 to 54, I was very actively involved in the childhood of my son. I did so many things with him that I just wouldn't have done if I was still at work. I've got happy memories of that time. Things that I just wouldn't have had. I wouldn't have had those memories if I hadn't have made the decision that enough was enough and I could actually stop full-time work at that point, and I'm glad that I did. Here's what you need to consider. Even if the value of your pot is going up all the time, the use of that money becomes less and less valuable with every passing day that you don't retire. You will need a lot less money after 50 than you think you will. I spent considerably less money in my 50s than I did in my 40s, and now that I'm 64, I've already spent considerably less money in the first half of this decade than I spent in the first half of my 50s, and I expect that trend to continue into my 70s and my 80s, and who knows, even my 90s if I make it. I know what you're thinking, and some of you have said it in the comments. He's a true Yorkshireman, a right tight ass. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. Don't worry, I do spend my money. I have a good lifestyle, a good retirement. I go on 3 or 4 good holidays every year. I've got a decent house in the city centre. I own 2 cars. My wife and I visit London regularly and have weekends away. The last thing I am is a tight ass Yorkshireman. But let me tell you one thing, I wouldn't have enjoyed half of those things if I'd have stayed working for another 10 or 20 years. Now, if you're continuing to work and you're continuing to invest, putting money into your pension pot, and it's growing, hopefully beating inflation, and you're planning one day you're going to retire maybe when you get the state pension at 67, good for you. That is certainly a strategy. It's not a strategy that I agree with, but it's a strategy, and it's the strategy of many people. But here's something you need to consider. You are becoming a victim of the law of diminishing returns. When you finally retire at 67, you will be lucky if you've got 20 years left, and very lucky if those 20 years are healthy. The law of diminishing returns when it comes to retirement is a really simple concept. It works something like this. Every pound you earn by staying at work does not buy you any extra value in retirement. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. So if you earn an extra £1,000, you don't get an extra £1,000 of value in your retirement. The more time you spend at work, earning more money to potentially spend in your retirement, the less retirement you actually have to be able to spend the money. The law of diminishing returns as applied to retirement. You'll never be able to convince me that putting hours in at work instead of retirement is a good strategy. It doesn't matter how many hours we spend debating the topic, I just won't see your point of view. And I'm not the only one. There's plenty of other people that feel the same way. If you feel the same way, please leave a comment. I'd like to know. I've said quite a few times in previous videos about my favourite book. And I'm going to mention the book again because I want to get the message home. And the book is by Bronnie Ware, and it's the top 5 regrets of the dying. I have repeated this message over and over and over again in previous videos, and I will continue to repeat this message. Here it is. Men in particular, one of their biggest regrets is that they wish they hadn't spent so much time at work. Why is that the case? Why do they feel that they should have spent less time at work? Because they missed out. Whilst they were working, they missed out on time with their spouse. They missed out on time with their partner. And they missed their children growing up. And no amount of dollars or pounds is going to compensate you for that. As I get older, I have this sense of feeling that time is vanishing ever so quickly. It seems to be speeding up. I mean, obviously it isn't. It's a mindset. I guess when you're in your 20s, it feels like time just moves slowly and you've got forever. By the time you get to 64, well, you haven't got forever. If you're lucky, you've got 20 years, maybe 30. The thing about time is you've got no control over it, none whatsoever. You can control how you use it, but you haven't got any control whatsoever over time itself. Time isn't like money, you can't replenish it. The thing about money is if you retire and you find that you haven't got enough, well, you can do something about it, can't you? You can go back to work if you have to, or you can take a part-time job, or maybe you can set up a side hustle, a side gig, some business of some kind. Or maybe, God forbid, you can cut your spending back a little bit so that the money that you have got will stretch a little bit further. I do understand how the thought of packing in work after the best part of 30 or 40 years can be a very daunting prospect. For many people, it is the only thing that gives them meaning in their lives, and for it not to be there anymore can create anxiety. The thoughts that might be going through your mind is, if I'm not working, what am I going to be doing with the time? How will I fill the hours? The other thing is, what about your friends at work? Well, I don't think there is such a thing. I think the reality is you have close work colleagues, but they're not your friends. One of the things that I think you'll find is that once you've left work, they're not there anymore. They've moved on, just like you've moved on. Those people have got other things to be concerned about. They've still got to keep the boss happy at the end of the day. And it's not that they don't like you, or they never liked you, or you weren't their work friend. You were, but you're not there anymore. But that shouldn't stop you from retiring. The time that you put into retirement, you can make new friends, take up new hobbies, do new things, and you'll meet new people. Those friends might be true friends rather than fake friends. Hopefully what I've said today will encourage you to look at retiring and maybe bringing the date forward. I do urge you to do that. Don't forget about the law of diminishing returns when it applies to retirement. It's a thing, it's real, and it's serious. Don't waste your remaining years at the coalface when you could be enjoying yourself in retirement. Right, that's all from me today. For those of you who are interested, I've walked from Warmgate Bar to Fishergate Bar on the ancient medieval walls of the city of York. And now I'm going to pop and have a pint at the Phoenix Inn, which is a nice little pub that's just tucked away here at Fishergate Bar. I hope this video resonated with you. I hope it did. Please join the conversation. Leave some comments. I'd like to know what your experience is of retiring early. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you did, you might find this video useful. It's the last words that my father said to me before he died that encouraged me to retire. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.